and I've seen this so many times, is I'll meet a client. They are amazing. Their history, their experience, the gifts that they can give the world are amazing. But then I go to their website and I'm like, who is this? This person is not you. It's not who I think you are and who I really want you to be. It's somebody completely different. And it's just lots of copy.
Welcome to Digital Dominance. I went from building HTML websites in high school to helping 7- and 8-figure service businesses generate more revenue through better design, SEO, and marketing. On this podcast, I bring you expert tactics and tools to help you turn your online presence into your biggest sales asset. If you want someone on your team to help you navigate the world of digital marketing, head over to FroBro.com. Let's be honest, there's no shortage of competition out there. Now, whether you're a consultant, agency owner, or a local service provider, you're likely competing with dozens, if not hundreds of others who say they do the same thing. So how do you rise above the noise? Well, today's guest has a powerful answer. Become the undeniable authority in your niche. I'm joined by Blosdale, the expert authority coach who helps entrepreneurs stop playing small and start getting seen, heard, and hired. She's a 5-time #1 bestselling author, media personality, and branding strategist who knows exactly what it takes to transform your message into magnetic momentum. If you want to build a brand that actually gets results, and maybe even one that your ex starts following out of envy, well, you're in for a treat. So Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeffro. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, let's dive into this identity because we've all heard it before and it sounds great, but it seems to be easier said than done. So for someone who's running a service-based business and might feel a little bit invisible, where do they even start? Well,
first of all, what we tend to do as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs is we live in a silo and we think we know what we do. And we think we know how the outside world perceives us. And many times what we think and what is reality are completely two different things. So I encourage those that are beginning, or even if you've already established your business, but you're not gaining a lot of traction, to have somebody from the outside look in. And that could be a mentor, that could be a coach, that could be someone like myself, or someone who is able to take a look at your brand and look at your business, look at your messaging, your copy, all of that, and give you an idea of what they think it is that you do. It's super important because, again, we live sort of with those blinders on. We're so busy.
Too close to it.
Right. We're so busy doing the business and trying to get clients that we sometimes forget about how we are being perceived. And so when I'm working with clients, I always say, we're going to take the low-hanging fruit, the things that you love and you're passionate about. We're going to dive into those things so you do more of them, but we're also going to use some marketing tools that will expand your expert authority. And that could be writing that best-selling book. It could be creating a podcast that's a branded business podcast. Podcasting, as you know, Jeffro, is like one of the most economical, smartest ways that you can brand your business and get the word out about who you are through your show, but also by being a guest on podcasts. That's another way you can do it. And so I work with clients on basically going through their digital footprint, going through their website, going through all of the stuff that they've already created and saying, we're going to focus in on these areas, expand them, and make you the go-to expert in your field.
Right. No, and I love that you highlighted the fact you need someone outside to look at it because it's so easy to get clever and you come up with a little thing like a tagline for yourself that you think sounds cool, but it's actually diluting your message because everybody else is like, wait, what does that mean? Like, oh, okay. But getting that feedback is really helpful. I
have one client, I have clients of all different ages, and I had a client in his early 80s who wanted to create a podcast about his life growing up in the South. Now, he's an African-American man growing up in the South at a time that was just horrific, right? And so he wanted to call his podcast My Little Green Frog. And I said, Frederick, no, we're not going to call it My Little Green Frog. He says, but that's what my grandmother used to call me, her little green frog. And I want to have some references to that. And I said, okay. I said, but that's not what the whole show is about. And if I was somebody that was just skimming through Apple Podcasts and I saw My Little Green Frog, I would think it would be a children's show. And I said, I'm guessing that the content that you're going to be talking about maybe not appropriate for children. And he said, well, yeah, you're right. It's about the racist South and what I've experienced. And I said, okay, so let's take a look. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up, a little bit about your life. And he started to talk about growing up in the South And he said he actually grew up on a plantation. Now, the plantation wasn't an operational plantation when he was born and he was there, but it was a plantation nonetheless. And so I said, what about the name Plantation Blues? And I came up with a photograph. I found an archived photograph of actual slaves that were on the plantation. We basically doused it in a blue tone and gave it a beautiful font. And he literally cried. He said, oh my goodness, that's it. I said, not only is it a podcast, but it's a book. And not only is it a book, it could be a movie. I said, do you see now? I understand that when I'm scrolling through Apple Podcasts, I understand what that is. And it makes me want to lean in and learn more. So that's the benefit of having somebody from the outside to go, no, we're not going to call it My Little Green Frog.
Oh, that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. Now, my next question though is let's say, all right, someone realizes I need to kind of think of this differently, become an expert, but what is the biggest shift that a business owner has to make in order to actually start moving in that direction?
You have to overcome all those inner stories. A lot of my clients are women, and some women experience and some men experience that imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is just simply the little ego coming in and trying to basically prepare you for the worst case scenario. And that voice says, who are you to be talking about this? Or who are you to say that you're an expert at anything, right? And even though you've done all the studies, you've worked hard, you've worked with clients, or you've done all the work, but in that little voice, it can throw away so much of the hard work that you've done. And it can keep you from actually showing up for your audience, for your potential customers or clients. So what we do a lot of times, if somebody's encountering that, we break it down. And what I like to do is I say, let's not focus on you. Yes, I know you're the brand and you're the person that we want to build into this expert authority, but it's really not about you. Why did you get into coaching? Why did you want to become an author? Why did you want to do this, pursue this career or this industry, be an expert in this industry? And a lot of times it's about, I want to help people. I want to inspire people, or I want to motivate them. Okay, so let's think about and focus on them. When you focus on the people that you're serving, a lot of times you get out of your own way and you go, you know what? All of the things that I have learned along the way can really help people. And I have done this. And I forgot, oh, Christine reminded me I did this and this and this. Okay. So it's about setting yourself aside, setting your ego aside just for a split second and focusing on the people that you want to serve. And when you do that, all of a sudden you find out, you know what? I do need to show up. I do need to start doing those TikTok videos. I do need to start writing those blogs and all those other things. So it's really a matter of getting out of our own way. Number one. And number two, finding out those things that are newsworthy. I was a radio host and producer for 20 years in Los Angeles. I've heard every single pitch. I've had publicists send me pitches for their clients. I've had people themselves, authors, speakers, coaches, send me pitches. And I can tell you the ones that move to the top of the pile, right? The ones that move to the top of the pile, a lot of times they've written a book, and if it's a bestseller, they move even higher. And that's because it gives me something as a host, as a producer, to flip through, and also to show that they have follow through, right? They've actually written something and they've published it. So a lot of times that will help. If they have a podcast, that also helps because it's something to talk about. If somebody just says, I want to be on your show because I'm cool, well, that's great, but you have to give me some of those things that make you unusual, or a story that I can run with and talk about.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, I just want to highlight something real quick, because what Christine's talking about is the opposite of what a lot of people tend to do and are told to do, right? And they're like, oh, I got to make a bunch of videos. All right, how do I make a video? Okay, here's a framework. I need a hook. I need the content. And so you start making videos and you feel like, man, this doesn't feel like me. It feels fake or forced. And then I'm either too much or I'm trying to not getting into it. And you don't actually find your voice there. And so if you start with focusing on the other end, you're just trying to help them, then your natural self is going to come across. And then maybe you can back into some of those frameworks and structure to help you package that information. But I fully agree. you have to help somebody in order to help find your voice come through.
Yes. Well, and being authentic is key. If there's anything that anybody gets out of this conversation that we have today, is you want to be authentic and relatable. The days of Kardashianism perfection, okay, are gone. We see it crumbling all around us. We see Hollywood crumbling. We see this ideal, and when I was young, we used to watch a show called Dynasty, and it was about the rich and famous, and it was kind of like watching a train wreck. But at the same time, it was like, wow, oh, if we could wear those clothes and be that beautiful and all of those things. That's going because people are craving, humanity is craving relatable people that they can go, yeah, I can see myself in that situation. Or she's just like me. That is really important. But the authenticity, if you're silly and goofy, be silly and goofy. My clients know that I keep things simple, easy, and fun. If it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And so my tribe, my community, the people that come to me are also creators and entrepreneurs who also want to have fun because that's my coaching style. I'm not corporate. I'm not super serious or anything like that. We have serious moments, but very, very rarely do we get super serious. We want to have fun in the creation process. So being authentic is also going to bring the right clients and customers to you as well.
Right. And to your point about how everything's shifting, like there's so much content online. People have so many options and there isn't just one massive celebrity that everybody follows. Like you got little pockets and now there's AI content creating even more pockets. But it's interesting to see in parallel with AI, you're kind of seeing a rise in personal branding because that's how people are going to stand out in all this generated world and sea of content that's floating around out there. So I want to take the next step here to talk about your tool, the Expert Authority Scorecard, because this is going to help people move in that direction to help them uncover, what should my brand presence be in my influence? So tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's at expertauthorityquiz.com and it's a super quick, it's about 10 questions. And these are actually all questions that you should be asking yourself anyway. And it's really good to do this before you throw in all that money in marketing and advertising and all of this, because it breaks it down. And, one of the simple questions is, if you were to Google yourself, what would come up? Now, people don't realize that if you've done anything, if you have a social media page, if you've done anything at all, it's going to show up on Google. So what do you want to see on there, right? And that's a great way to just kind of begin. But there's other questions in there as well about your expert authority-ness, if that's a word. And it can be for any niche. It can be for any business that you're in, any profession that you're in. And they're just questions that are really important for you to ask before you get started. And it gives you a nice framework before you get going. And it's about 10 questions, but it's super fun too. It's silly and fun too. Yeah.
Well, thanks for putting that out there. We'll put the link in the show notes as well.
Beautiful.
So if that can help people maybe with some of the authenticity in their branding, and that's one piece of the puzzle. But I also want to hear, in your opinion, what separates irresistible branding from just another polished profile?
And with AI, there's lots of polished profiles.
Yeah.
I always look, and whenever I see, because I'll throw in once in a while ChatGPT, or I like to use Perplexity AI as well, and I'll say, tell me about this Christine Blosdale, and it'll always say, the renowned. They use certain words. And when you see those words in a bio, you go, oh my gosh. Now, do I use AI to enhance some of my copy? Absolutely. Because I've come up with the most amazing phrase or the great way to describe something that I do. And again, just like that outside mentor, sometimes you need somebody or something from the outside to look in and go, you missed this. And it could be a big one that you miss. So I'll use that to help me. But it's really, with your brand and your authenticity, if you are someone who is lighthearted and fun to be with, right? You want that to be reflective of your copy. You want that to be reflective of your website. The most important thing, and I've seen this so many times, is I'll meet a client. They are amazing. Their history, their experience, the gifts that they can give the world are amazing. But then I go to their website and I'm like, who is this? This person is not you. It's not who I think you are and who I really want you to be. It's somebody completely different, and it's just lots of copy. So I'll tell people, I'll say, a great thing to do is when people go to your website, the very first thing, if you have a video playing of you, or if it's your product, then you have something about the product. But if it's service-based business that you're in, like a coach, the very first thing when people pull up that website, if there's a video of you saying, welcome, hello, let me introduce myself to you. This is who I am. This is what I do. Welcome to my world. Ask me a question, those type of things. Then people can see your eyes. So they're not just reading copy, but they can actually see who you are. And it's not so much judging you on what you're wearing or anything like that. So get that out of your head. It's about connecting with people. Again, that relatability is really, really important. So you want to do that right from the get-go.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, Christine, because I do websites that's like my main core thing. I want to rid the world of terrible websites. And this is the most fun part for me is when a company comes to me and asks for a new website, I get to draw out that information from them, what they do, who they serve, and then transform that website from being like, welcome to our website. We do plumbing. Thanks. Call us. It's like, no, there's so much more here that we can come through and connect with that person on the other side. So I love that. So thank you. Now, I will say, a lot of listeners have heard a version of this before. You've got to be an expert, do branding and post stuff. And there's probably people who have started doing that, but then they get stuck in that cycle of posts that becomes a chore. Maybe they don't feel like they're getting the traction. So what do you say to someone who's posting all the time, but not really making progress?
If you can focus on the social media platform that your audience is, your tribe, your community, your customers, your potential customers and clients, you may love Facebook, but your people are not on Facebook. Your cousins and your uncles are, and the people that you went to high school with are. And when you post something, they all give you the thumbs up and they're all like, that's great. That's wonderful. But maybe your people are actually on LinkedIn or on TikTok. I find, and I'm late to the game with TikTok, but I love it because the algorithm is such that when you put content out there, it attracts your tribe. The algorithm knows who to send your content to. And if you're consistent, and you can see it, when you're consistent, then more people will find you, more people will start to follow you and be your tribe. The thing is that we are in a quick fix, we're in a fast food world where we want results right away. And people think, well, I've posted, 7 videos and I don't have 10,000 followers yet. And it's like, well, no, you need to give it a little bit of time. And also each video that you do, each piece of content that you create, you're going to get a little bit better and a little bit better. And part of the problem is that entrepreneurs in general, coaches, authors, they can get very overwhelmed because there's all these things that they have to think about. I need to be a social media genius. I need to be a copywriter. I need to be an accountant. I need to do this, that, and the other thing. And they're also so busy upskilling and I'm going to take this course and I'm going to do that. And so they're spread out. And if you can slow it down a bit and focus in on where your audience is and work on your messaging that communicates with that audience. So my audience are primarily women from 40, 45 on up who are entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. They're not CEOs. Right? They're not people who have a Fortune 500 company. These are women who are struggling with all of the demands life has, but also who are passionate about creating their own business. And so I want to take the overwhelm away from them. And that's who I want to reach out to. And I find that with TikTok, even though people think, oh, that's just for teenagers. No, it's not. It's actually, it's a huge demographic. You just need to focus in on your content that speaks to that audience and find that place where they are and focus your content there. But still put it on other social media. You don't just say, I'm just going to throw my videos on TikTok and forget about everything else, because you've got YouTube Shorts, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Instagram Reels, you've got Facebook Reels, you've got all those different platforms that can connect to people.
Yeah, and now all the main platforms have a Reels feature, so you can just post the same thing everywhere. Even if you're focusing your efforts and tailoring your content for a specific platform, it can still reach more people on the other places, and that'll give you that feedback as to where your people are. And if they start, responding more over here, then, oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they're not on Facebook. I should go over here to Instagram and spend more time there. So that's all good feedback to have.
Yes, absolutely. And well, with the huge success of TikTok, large giants like YouTube are really pushing that short form content, the short form video content. And I'll look at my videos, and I've got long format videos on YouTube, interviews from the pod. I have 3 podcasts. I don't, it's like 3 children. So the longer those videos are, I can see the numbers are not huge. It's the short form ones. When I go and I look at a little silly video that I've done is performing really well, I know that they're pushing out that short form content because they want to keep people on the platform. So if you can create content that keeps people on that particular platform, it'll get pushed out to more people.
Definitely. Do you have kind of a broader question? Do you have any branding don'ts, that you see business owners make certain mistakes that you want to avoid them, or steer people away from those?
Yes. Oh, and you'll appreciate this because also I was back in the day, probably before you were born. I worked for America Online many, many, many moons ago. And it really helped me hone in my skills on connecting with an audience that could be 8 years old or 80, right? I mean, that's the target demographic they told me. They go, you're writing this column, and it was an entertainment column. You're writing this column for that demographic. And I said, 8 to 80? They go, yeah, just don't worry about it. Go with it. So I sort of wrote the content in a Shrek, before Shrek even came out, but in a Shrek way so that young people could appreciate it and like it. And then older people go, oh, are you naughty? Okay, I get that. So right after AOL was the .com boom. And the .com boom they were throwing stupid money. Businesses were throwing so much money at creating websites. And so I got to be a website consultant for a good couple years. And what I noticed is, again, user navigation was so bad that, I was struggling to find out how to contact a business. There was no contact information, right? Everything was, now we're right-handed. Most people are right-handed. There's a lot of lefties, and I love you lefties. My wife is a lefty. Okay. But the important stuff, if you're able to, on your website, if you're your coach, if you can have your most important thing on that, is close to that scrolly bar on the right side, that is one of the most important places. That's the best real estate for you, is the thing that is closest. So it might be contact me. It might be book free consultation, right? Whatever it is, you get people through the door. Don't have something that is not that important. Okay. So it might be, your blog, or it might be something else, free resources or things like that. The most important is going to be the closest. So your website needs to be killer. You need to have a good headshot, a professional headshot that's well lit, that you look good and comfortable in, right? No selfies. People, if you're going to spend, a couple bucks on anything, that headshot will open doors for you. It's what you can put on the back of your book. It's what you can put on your website. It's what you can have on your business cards. It's well worth the money to invest in a good headshot. So headshot, solid website that has all your good stuff as close as it can over here, not mountains of text. People are not going to read lots and lots of text, okay? Be very, very cautious on the words that you use. You don't want to talk in the negative. Now, you can say, if there's a pain point for somebody that you want, are you suffering from this? Do you lack self-esteem? Whatever the subject matter is, you can open that, but don't have the whole thing being negative. You want it to be that you're the solution, right? So you want to speak in that way. And the other thing I highly recommend is people do not do this I, me. And that is across the board. In the books that you write, in the podcast shows that you host, there's nothing worse than when it's all about them, okay? Because it's not about you. It's about the people that you serve. It's about the clients that you can take from this pain point to success, and get those testimonials. Put those testimonials and reviews all over the place. Put them on your website. Put them on the back of your book. If you have clients that you've worked with and they love you, let them speak for you. Don't tell people how great you are. Have other people say how great you are. So those are just a few. Yeah.
Okay. I'll echo all of that stuff, guys. Just take notes, do those things. It'll be helpful. And actually, you have a new book that's a good example of talking about putting the focus on the other person, right? You've got the word you and your in there twice. So the full title is The Social Media and Branding Survival Guide, Digital Marketing So Irresistible, Even Your Ex Will Want to Follow You, right? So again, it puts the perspective on them. And that's a heck of a title, by the way.
Thank
Can you tell us where that came from? What can people expect from the book?
Well, the first 4 books that I wrote were all about podcasting. So it was about creating a podcast, why you want to create a podcast. One of them was about being a guest on a podcast, the do's and don'ts. Again, relying on my 20 years of being a radio host and having some of the best interviews and some of the worst interviews in my life. I tell people in that particular book what to do and what not to do and things to prepare for your podcast appearance. But for the last book, I was like, you know what? I need to write a book about things that most of my clients come to me with issues with. They're not all coming to me screaming, I want a podcast, I want a podcast. They're coming to me saying, I don't know what to do on social media. I hate how I look on video. I don't know about what is my brand, all these different things. And so I wanted to have a very simple and easy guide with some tips, some free resources that people can use so that they can explore what their brand is and basically make it so that they can rethink this whole thing and keep it very fun. Again, it's a very fun read. So that's why I wrote this particular book, because that was the most of the questions. Again, instead of saying, no, I'm going to talk about podcasting because that's what I'm into, I have to say, what are my people into? What are they asking most help with? And that's what it is. So there's some tools and some things that I use. I drop some names as far as I love using CapCut for certain things. I like using Descript for other things. And then the platforms that I enjoy using and some tips on those things too.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it at some point. And I think this is a good point for us to wrap up too. This has been a really great conversation. I think you've kind of given the listeners a lot of things to think about, ways to approach their branding and their website, and just stuff to keep in mind as they're approaching how they do business online, because everything's online now. So people used to just ignore the online world and I don't need it. But you can't really do that anymore, or you're going to much longer. So thank you for reminding us you don't need a massive budget or a viral moment to kind of build an impactful brand. You just need the clarity and the consistency and having a strategy into what you're putting out there in order to make progress. So for those of you listening, you can take Christine's free Expert Authority Scorecard at expertauthorityquiz.com. That should help give you some insights and a place to start if you're brand new to this. The link will be in the show notes. And then, Christine, you also told me before the show that you were willing to give a free gift to the listeners. Yeah. Can you remind us what that is? Yeah, and I've never done this, and I just think it's so cool because then this way people can dive in right away. I will give you a special link that you can give to your listeners so they can download the book. It went back to #1 last week. Again, it was a little campaign. So it was a #1 bestseller, The Social Media and Branding Survival Guide. I will send you the link so they can actually get the book for free. Not the physical book, they'll get the PDF version of it. But the great thing about the PDF version is there's clickable links. So when I say about a tool that I use, like video to blog, that's a quick drop. Jeffro, you will love that program as well. You could take long format videos and create amazing, readable, enjoyable text out of it. Those are all those little tools that are included in the book, and they can download that for free. That's awesome. Very generous. Thank you, Christine. We'll make sure to put that link in the show notes. So guys, do that. Awesome. Final question for you, Christine. If a business owner wants to become the go-to expert in their niche over the next 6 to 12 months, what's the very first thing they should do this week to start that journey? Download the Social Media and Branding Survival Guide. That will help. And to get excited about it, remember the reason why you want to do this, right? And it can get hard sometimes, and you can get bogged down with stress and thinking, oh, how am I going to pay this for this and that? Remember the reason why you're doing it. Okay. Remember the reason. If you have this pull and passion to help people, that is contagious. We want to feel that. And so remember that you leave an imprint, not to get woo-woo on you, but we have an energy, we have a force field, and that energy people can feel. So if you're desperate and you're living in scarcity, people will feel that and they'll run. If you're living in with confidence and authenticity, and you're very confident in what you do and your capabilities, then people will feel that and let your personality shine, and your tribe will be attracted to that. Awesome. Love that. Thanks again for being here, Christine. Thank you all for listening. Thank you. Absolutely. Guys, if this episode gave you a boost of clarity or motivation, please take 30 seconds, leave us a review, share it with someone. This helps more business owners discover the show, start working towards digital dominance. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Digital Dominance. If you enjoyed this episode, would you do me a big favor and leave a review? It really helps more service business owners discover the show, fix their websites, and grow their businesses the right way.